All right, Inappropriate Earl. This is getting back to my roots, and I don't mean LeVar Burton by that. It's for you older fans. I'm going back to just having people I like on the podcast. Special thank you to last week's guest, Nirvana, Kiss manager, publicist for Led Zeppelin, Danny Goldberg. Today, though, I have what I call in the business the real deal. I've known her for 20 plus years. We started comedy together. This is like a Comedy Store Paid Regular, interviewing a Comedy Store Paid Regular. Put your grubby, greasy, pedophile hands together, my fan base, for Christy Miller. What up?
Yay! What's happening? God, I miss you.
It's been, I haven't seen you physically in about 5 or 6 years. And then
yeah,
when did you leave for New York?
I left in 2005.
I mean, that's
like literally, yeah, like tomorrow 2005 will be 17 years because I got here March 9th.
And let's start on your journey out here in LA first. How did you become a paid regular at the Comedy Store? Because I don't think I know that history.
Oh, I started there as a waitress in 1995, got him 100. And it was like me and Eleanor, Lauren Peltz, Jen Freeman, like the old school Comedy Store waitresses. And I said, if I get a job at the Comedy Store, I'm supposed to do stand-up. So I went in, got the job. And then because waitresses at the time weren't allowed to talk to comics unless they were buying drinks or something. So we had to hide me being a stand-up, doing open mics and stuff. And then I just became, got up, just did all, comics work there. So I worked phones, I did waitressing, I did accounting, I was assistant talent coordinator with Scott Day, and then Duncan Trussell took it over. So I became Mitzi's all-around girl. And then worked my, then I was an employee showcase, and that's how I got past.
And did you ever tell Mitzi during this time frame, hey, I want to do stand-up? Or how did you approach her? Because I don't think people really get like how much of a godfather type figure she was. Like she was very scary from what I understand.
Yeah, well, she was the godmother. That's what she called herself. I'm not your mom, I'm the godmother. Like, you had to kiss the ring. But I wasn't allowed to tell her, and she found out by accident. And like they were at, a meeting going over the showcases that I was her vice president at the time, Mike Becker, Scott Day, Dave Schuler, the day manager back then. And they were going over and Scott Day, and they were going over the employee lists and the showcase list. And they forgot to take my name off the employee list so she wouldn't get mad, because they had a separate list for the cover booth that they would show Mitzi. And then she saw that I was on the list, and she goes, Christy's a performer? That's great. And she starts laughing, and everybody's like, whoo, we thought you were going to get fired. But no. And then it was okay after that. Then I could go in front of her, because waitresses weren't allowed to hang out at the store on their off nights.
What brought that change? I mean, because then later, I think probably right around when I got past the waitresses and comics were almost one and the same at that point.
Right. I think that I don't mean to say it like that, but I think that is kind of maybe the catalyst that helped her get over that. The whole waitresses were not allowed to talk to comics because they were fucking the comics. And Sammy ran off with a waitress back in the day in the 70s, and she had this thing about waitresses. So I think after that, it calmed down, and we didn't have to like hide things from her anymore. And then, and then Eleanor being there so long after I left, Eleanor was still there. And then Eleanor started stand up, and she was so close to Mitzi. And I think, between me and Eleanor, it kind of opened up those gates to let Mitzi realize, like, we're all employees, we're all comics, that, we're all there because we love this place, not because we're, whores, but we are. So,
well, some of them were, we won't name it, but
yeah, some were. Yeah, I was a shitty whore.
this is the dark era of the store. You know, I think people think of the Comedy Store and think, you know, Rogan coming back and it's packed, and you know, roast battles
Right.
popular, and describe the
Right.
store back then, which was like, I often would see the original room maybe on a Saturday night, 20 people in it. I mean, it was
Oh yeah.
different time.
I got there in way different. I was there from 95 till 2005. And from 95 until I'm going to say 02, oh, you know, 02, 03, it was dead. Like we were begging people, like we would go to the Hyatt next door and drop tickets off to the concierge, like stacks of them, and try to like, you know, hey, give these out to your hotel guests. You know, we need people in the seats because you remember there'd be times, you know, a Friday night show in the OR, they would be nobody there, and we wouldn't start the show till about 9:30 or whatever. And you know, we'd walk in and walk up to the mic and touch it, and then walk off the stage so we could still get paid. Because if we went home, we wouldn't have got paid our big
like,
$15.
Around this time frame, who were the comics going up? Like I remember seeing a young Sebastian and Caparulo doing 2 spots.
Yep.
Caparulo,
a very young Sebastian. God, you know, like at like that generation, it was just like
Dave
you know,
Mashevitz.
Yes.
Renazizi.
God, I'm trying to remember. Thank you. Yeah. Luca, you know, Pescatelli.
A young Tiana.
Yeah, like you know, Tripoli, you know, God, there were so many back then that were just, you know, that were just regulars. Those were our spots. And then if it wasn't either the show's not starting on time because there was no people and the main room was closed every night except Saturday, and they would be lucky there'd be 10 or 15 people there, and you'd have like Nick DiPaolo, Retha Jones, Argus Hamilton in the main room. You know, Joe Rogan would get a main room spot on Fridays. We had Joey Diaz, you know, back then. But it was like if you were lucky to get a spot, and then you'd always have like Eddie Griffin, Dice, you know, one of those guys, Damon, come in and bump the lineup for about 6 hours. And we just, you know, gave up at that point.
Well, I mean, among those guys you just named, wasn't Eddie Griffin known as like the marathon light runner? Like I never saw Dice really run the light. I mean, he did a fair amount of time, but I don't think people minded with him. But Eddie Griffin could do 2 or 3 hours.
Oh, yeah, Dice would do about an hour, which was fine. He's Dice. He's an icon. Eddie Griffin would go up for 4 hours. Like if he got there at 10, it got on stage around 10:30, it'd be 2:33 a.m. before he got off stage. So the one was like, and then Carlos Mencia would do it, you know, and they would all fight because we really didn't have any like parental guidance back then. You know, it was kind of a you remember, it was like a big free for all. Like we just kind of ran the store and it just kind of just did what we wanted. So like, you know, the bigger names like Mencia was the big name there at the time. Like he was the golden child. And then you had Griffin and Rogan and Dice but you know, Carlos and Eddie were the ones that would really bump the lineups for hours and just hog the stage. You know, Dice to do an hour. That's normal. That's what you would expect from an icon if he's going to pop in. You expect an hour. But he would literally get off. I got to, you know, leave some for the rest of the guys. You know, Dice is a good guy.
I love Dice. Every time I see him, I talk about this. I think it was the first movie he was in called Making the Grade. And
I remember that movie.
I mean, it didn't do very well, but it wasn't his fault. Like it was just, Judd Nelson was like, I don't know what they were trying to make him the new comedy teen heartthrob guy, but it was a pretty funny movie. But there was supposed to be a sequel, and that never happened. And but then Dice got Crime Story, which is, I always talk about Crime Story with him. So
yeah,
because
that's awesome.
That was my first exposure to him. Like when I saw him at the Wiltern, right as he was about to blow up, I was like, oh, that's the guy from Crime Story. Like so.
That's hilarious.
I know. I guarantee you, no one in the Wiltern that night was, oh, that's the guy from that Michael Mann show. But he was. That had such a great cast in it. Like the guy who played Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs was in it.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
And a lot of character actors that Michael Mann always liked to use. So Dice always
It was a
said,
great show.
I mean, I think it just cost too much money. I think back then I read
Right.
somewhere that it was like $1 million an episode, which in I think it was 86 it started. That was just crazy money.
Yeah, that's insane money for a TV show.
But it would have been interesting if they would have done a third season. That's right when Dice blew up. How they would have, because he was kind of a side character on the show, so it would have been interesting,
Right?
If they would have just turned it into the Max Goldman show, but we'll never know. And he's killing it in the Tom and Pammy show. Like,
dude, I know he had so much fun doing that. He was so excited to do that. You know, even though Eleanor's his main opener, I get little. He throws me a bone every now and then. I get a show here and there in between. So
and
it's still
like,
nice to see him.
It's a weird thing when you're opening up for an icon. Like I used to open up for Rob Schneider, and it was a very strange feeling to be in a 2,000 seater or whatever, a pretty big theater or a packed comedy club, and you realize everyone is there to see Rob or Dice. But I found they gave the opener respect. They gave you 5 minutes to get them. Like, okay, Dice has this girl opening up. She's got to be pretty cool. Did you have that same feeling like opening up for this icon? Like, wow, how do I win them on my side?
Well, I'm lucky enough that I had many years, like 12 years with Paul Mooney. So when you open for Paul Mooney, that is like, if you don't get him in 30 seconds, they will kill you. So people have asked me, what's it like going from a Paul Mooney audience, which are diehard Mooney fans? They don't give a fuck who's on front of him. They don't care. They want Mooney. And then go to diehard Dice fans. I'm like, it's the same extremism. Race and stuff has nothing to do with it. It's that fanaticism that they have. So you just have to go out there and own them before they own you and take command. And I have a very present persona on stage. You know, I walk in and I like Dice back at the Comedy Store used to call me military. He used to do this bit about I don't like female comics. They're annoying except for military. She's the only one I like. And that, that's pre-Eleanor. So it was a nice, shout out. Like because he told me, because you walk in, you walk on stage and it's like 10 hut and you make them pay attention. So, and then just using that skill with Mooney for 12 years and then now using it with Dice, his crowds are amazing. Like they show you mad love. So.
And what were Mooney's crowds like?
They were amazing and just passionate, and it's the same thing, but they were like, when they loved you, ooh, they loved you. I've gotten standing ovations in Mooney's room at Caroline's those times, and I've gotten booed. So I had to figure it out. Like in the beginning, I got booed because I wasn't, connecting, and I just finally just stopped giving a fuck. I'm like, well, this isn't working because I'm too worried about what's happening up here. I need to just have, get over this is like 100 years ago. Like 20 years ago. And I'm like, I need to just get over myself and just be me. And when I did that, I won him over every time. And Mooney told me, he goes, Sandra Bernhardt would tank in my room constantly. He goes, you crush my rooms. He goes, she never did as well as you.
Do you think he had you open for him just because it's such a, you and Mooney visually are very different looking. He's this older black dude and you're like a rock and roll Joan Jett if she worked out.
Yeah. Well, I don't really see the physical differences because when I see me, I see, I'm just kidding. We're twins. Mooney loved, you couldn't tell us apart, but Mooney loved crazy. Mooney loved originality. And Mooney loved real. Like when you went up there and just let it out, he loved you. And that's what he loved about me. He goes, "You're so real up there and you're just so don't give a fuck. And this is what I love about you. And you're so funny."
Because that's what he was like. You talk about a guy who didn't give a fuck. Like, you know, I think his first, I don't know if it was his first comedy album, but it's called Race. And
Yep.
it's the one with Don
My
Barris on the
favorite.
cover. Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
I remember it's kind of like the Dice story. Like I knew Mooney as the guy who played Sam Cooke in the Buddy Holly story. And
Right.
oh, that's the guy who played Sam Cooke. Let me get his album. Not really knowing much about his act. So I remember I bought, it's so funny how you can remember things this clearly. I bought it at the Warehouse CD store in Westwood. I put it in my CD player and I'm blasting it. And this cop car pulls alongside next to me. And it was the part where I guess a white lady was kind of heckling him and she left the room and Mooney said something like that.
Oh, yes.
My my blank friends are gonna steal your car. And it was and the cops just
I remember that.
Yeah, I mean the cops look at me like, dude, roll your window up if you're gonna listen to that. So he was
roll
like,
your window up with that colored nonsense.
I wish he was more famous. Like famous is the wrong word, or well known, because he was so you know, people just kind of know him. Oh, that's Pryor's sidekick, but he was such an amazing, one of the greats.
Yeah, the greats. Like, you know, Pryor was a great, you know, thanks to Paul Mooney, I got to know Richard in his later years. So Richard is a storyteller. Like no one can tell a story like Richard Pryor. Like he was a king storyteller. Mooney was a joke writer and political and didn't give a fuck and saw things through different, like you're like, fuck, why didn't I see that? It was so right there. And then Mooney would point it out in such a Mooney way. And they were so great together. And, you know, Mooney helped Richard be who he was and vice versa. But Mooney always took a back seat to everybody. Like Mooney wanted you to shine. Like he didn't really care because he knew who he was. And I wish everybody knew him. And I wish a lot of these comics knew their history. And, you know, with these icons that, you know, especially with Paul Mooney, like people at the Comedy Store know Paul Mooney, but a lot of others really don't, unless like New York knows Paul. That's one thing I love about this city is they love Paul Mooney. But anywhere else, they really don't know him. And he's the Godfather. You know, we used to call him the professor. The professor's here. Let's go sit in the back and go learn something.
Oh, I used to love watching him, like, just because I love that sense of humor he had. You wouldn't think a white dude like me would appreciate his acerbic wit,
but the thing is, the reason is because you know who the fuck you are. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're comfortable in your own skin. You're not insecure. It's ones that get offended or triggered or whatever the fuck word is today. You know, is this triggering? I feel unsafe. Go fuck yourself. This is reality. Toughen up. You know who you are, so it doesn't bother you. Like when I would open for him, I'd be in the back rolling on the ground laughing, even though I know all the material by heart, but Mooney made it brand new every night. And then there'd be other white people looking at me like, what is she laughing at? And I looked at one couple one night. I said, he ain't talking about me. You know, I don't give a fuck. And, you know, if they get offended, it means they actually are what he's talking about. But it's, you know, real people get humor.
Well, he was even funny in the Buddy Holly story, like when he walked in to the hotel, which was I think it was a all black hotel, and they looked at the white bass player. And he's like, "That's just my caretaker," and like it was such a racially charged scene. But even in I think it was a PG movie, you could tell this guy's pretty dark. Like,
oh yeah.
Did he give you, what advice did he give you? Like, I'm curious as to what a legend would tell a younger comic like you, like, hey, you should do this. Here's how you should perform, dress. Did he tell you anything like that?
Actually, yes. The best piece of advice I got from Mooney, and it's probably the best piece of advice I ever got. Mooney told me this in my very young age. Homie, It doesn't matter if there's one person or 1,000 people in the audience. Do your show. And I never forgot that, because, you know, late nights at the Comedy Store back then, there'd be 1 or 2 people. And he goes, honey, do your shit. So I would treat those 2 people, you know, if I'd have the Kinnison spot, I would treat those 2 people as if they were 2,000 people. And I'd have so much fun. But I learned that from him, because that really stuck with me as a young comic, only like a couple years in. So I always remembered that. And even here in New York, these comics are very, I hate to say it, they're spoiled, because there's so much stage time here. And we're so conditioned in Los Angeles that we're very limited to our venues where we could do stand-up, especially when we started. We had 3 clubs, possibly 4 if you went to Pasadena, you know, but we had the Laugh Factory, the Improv, and the Comedy Store, which were 3 different entities with 3 different types of comics. And we were the land of the misfit toys and the degenerates. So we stayed, you know, it was Animal House. So we stayed at the store so we could be who we were. So you come out to New York, there's rooms underneath rooms underneath rooms. Like, there's so much stage time. And it's amazing to watch comics go on stage and then get mad at the audience and get upset because there's empty chairs. And I've gone on stage more times than any and turned into Paul Mooney and cussed the comics out when I got on stage and then did my set. Like, it's just like, you can't punish 4 people that are there watching you because you're not a big enough name to draw more than that, because they're not there to see you. They're there to see a show. Maybe you should be better. Don't worry about it. Be funnier. Maybe you should have been better. You could have got more people in with your name on the marquee, but I don't see your name on a marquee because you ain't shit. So fucking appreciate what you have. Put the show on. Don't punish those 4 fucking people because you're a piece of shit. Do your show. Make them love you.
Yeah, I learned that. I never really got to talk to Mooney, but you could tell that he told that to Barris as well, because I've
Sure.
seen Don Barris go up, you know, after a 3-hour gangbang of comedy, and you think, oh, he's gonna bomb. Not because it's him, but just no one's gonna.
They're
do
tired.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 3 hours, and then Don will do another hour, and he kills.
Yeah, because Don learned from
off.
Mooney. Yep. Because
I mean,
you know, Mooney loved Barris, loved him. And
you could tell.
oh yeah, Mooney, because he was crazy. And Don wasn't afraid to be who he is. He is unapologetically Don Barris. And that's what Paul would react to when you are unapologetic of who you are. Just like, this is it. And you just let it all out. Mooney loved it. He ate it up because it was real.
How did his death affect you? Because I know a lot of people who, like the few people who knew Mooney, like you and other Don, I could tell Don was very sad, and like, did it?
It was hard. It was like losing a father. It really was. It's like it ripped my soul out, because I always knew, you know, you prepare for it. And I haven't talked to him in a few years because the dementia got really bad, and the people around him, the vultures, kind of pushed everybody out so they can horn in on whatever was left of Paul Mooney and milk him for every dollar they could. But so I got pushed out and I stopped fighting because I got tired of fighting for years, because I was there to protect him, because he, you know, he was like a father to me. He treated me like his kid. He told me, like, you're like my other daughter. And, you know, when it finally, I had to let go and just stop fighting. And then I always prepared for it, but you never prepared. Same with my mom. I wasn't prepared, even though you were. But when he died, it destroyed me. I woke up and there was hundreds of texts and messages on my phone and Facebook and Instagram. Like, I'm so sorry. You know, it's like, it was devastating. It was like losing my dad, and I still miss him. And I still, you know, it hurts still, but it's, you know, it's just, it is what it is. But it's hard for me to talk about emotional shit because I'm such a cold-hearted bitch. So
You are. That's why I like you, though. You've always kept it real. Like,
yeah,
even in the shitty rooms we were doing, like Coconut Teaser on a Monday night with a guy.
Oh, I miss those.
Otis, the sound guy, on heroin.
Otis! Oh my God, I forgot about him.
I mean, saw him shoot
Oh,
up once during the show. I'm like, dude,
sure.
this is
Why
about-
not?
yeah, because back then there weren't a lot of. I mean, there was probably more open mics and shitty bar shows than there were clubs to do. Like I wasn't getting into a comedy club because I had no credits, so you had to do wacky rooms.
Well, that's when those wacky rooms popped up because comedy crashed and there was no more spots and shows. So we wanted to get on stage and there was nowhere to get. And there's only 3 clubs and half of them weren't even open half the time and they weren't have shows. And people, there's thousands of comics fighting over a few spots, kind of like right now. And so we created bar shows and shows in the belly room and, weird, rock coconut teaser and like the strip clubs we would do it at, you remember? And then Larry Flint's, coffee shop, bookstore, the Hustler store or whatever. Like we create, coffee shop comedy was a thing, like we just found creative ways to figure out how to get on stage and get better and do shows. That's just what we did.
I mean, that's one of my favorite shows I ever did was the Hustler store, which is now just a vacant building. But the guy, I don't know if you knew this guy, just another one of the LA freaks named Johnny Montana.
I'm Johnny Montana. I'm Johnny Montana. Of course.
Coked out motorcycle guy.
Oh.
And he told me as I got on stage, this is at the Hustler store. He's like, hey, dude, it's a clean show. And like, what? It's like a gangbang video for sale placard above this microphone. But I miss those days somewhat because nowadays, at least in LA, it's everyone's so focused on getting on TV, and I gotta go to this pool party. I gotta go meet John Mayer over here, and like back then it was But if you did comedy back in that time frame, you wanted to do comedy. You weren't trying to meet people.
Well, because we didn't have social media.
Right.
The internet really wasn't a thing. And, there was no Facebook, there was no TikTok, there was no Instagram, there's no cell phones that had cameras on them. There was no bullshit. It was like either you went on stage or you didn't. That was it. Either you were funny or you weren't. So we hustled because we wanted to be there. Remember, we would stand out in front of the Whiskey A Go-Go at 2 a.m, handing out flyers to our shows.
Yeah.
And I loved that coffee shop. I have a funny Mooney story about the Hustler store. One night I was doing a spot there and Tripoli went on before me. And Mooney's like, oh, look at this fake white boy. He's Armenian. He could spot him a mile away. He's acting white. So people are like, you brought Paul Mooney to this mic? And I'm like, well, yeah, he came with me because he used to come with me everywhere because he was helping, he loved me. So I went up and did my thing, did what I do. And then Mooney wanted to go up. So Mooney went up for a few minutes and just tortured everybody. It was so like heaven. And it's like Mooney at the Hustler store doing stand-up and roasting all these young comics. It was like the highlight. And it was so funny. And I loved those rooms because it was so real. It was so raw. Like we didn't give a fuck. We're not worried about how many followers am I getting off of this show? Like, who do I, it's like we were just comics back then.
Yeah, like I'm doing a show tonight at I think when you were here, it was called Red Rock. Small bar on Sunset, but like you could tell some of the people on the lineup are just doing it to get the IG followers up because like Ian Edwards is on the show, so they want to meet him and follow him.
Of course.
And, like I haven't heard of 80% of the people on the lineup, which that ain't a good sign. But
that's the norm, especially here in New York. Unless you're at the Cellar, you haven't heard half of the lineup because a lot of it's independently produced. That it's like getting their bringer people to bring comics, to bring audience, and then they'll book like 1 or 2 pros to make the show, to like save the show and give it some kind of substance. And it's like I do lineups. I'm like, who are these people? Like, I have no idea who they are. Like I'm doing a room tomorrow night in Brooklyn Heights. It's like Brooklyn's really popping up with comedy. Like Brooklyn's really exploded in the last couple of years, especially since lockdown. Like there's some like outdoor spots and rooftop shows, and because they have the space for it. And then like clubs were born, like the Tiny Cupboard. It's like the little woke club. I've never played. I probably never get invited there because I don't care what people think. I think everything is funny. So, but there's like Brooklyn Comedy Club is great. There's the House of Comedy out there, Brooklyn House of Comedy, which is really fun. Then there's another place at O'Keefe's that upstairs they have the Punching Bag, which is a comedy night. So they're starting to do like headliners. It's fun. So I'm doing that tomorrow, and then but that's fun. But it's little shits popping up that you would never expect to pop up, but they're actually really fun rooms. But
I mean, I do like New York. I've only done comedy there once, but I loved how you could walk to like 5 shows, get paid for most of
yeah,
them. That's like, as an LA comic, I guess I'm considered. That's insane to me that you could do
no,
5 paid spots in the night.
yeah, because it's the access to everything. Like I was talking to a comic. I had a spot Sunday night. There's a newer club called the Grizzly Pear Comedy Club. It started off as a bar in the Village, and then they had this back space that held about 100 people and a little stage, and a couple comics took it over, like young comics, and took it over and made a deal with the owner, and they changed the name of the venue to the Grizzly Pear Comedy Club. So now it's a comedy club. So the front bar is still there, and then the back space is where the shows happen. And it's 7 nights a week, 3 to 4 shows a night. Friday and Saturday nights, the shows sell out all 4 shows. It's all in-house booked. I think the 6 o'clock and the midnight are independently booked, but the 8 and the 10 are in-house. Those are the shows that I do. So it's packed, and it's right by the Cellar. They get a lot of the Cellar drip-offs, and it's in between that and the Greenwich Village Comedy Club. And then there's another club called the Comedy Cove that used to be the Village Lantern around the corner on Bleecker. So within a block and a half, you have 3 comedy clubs. So it's great because it's a walking city. LA, wherever you drive, that's it. Because it's such a pain in the ass to drive around anywhere. Whatever club you're playing, that's where you're going, and that's where you're staying. That's it. You can't do 2 or 3 clubs a night. It doesn't work that way.
And now in LA, if you're not on TV, you're not getting a spot at a club. Like, so it's.
Oh yeah, I believe it, because they're trying to recoup their money they lost.
Yeah, I mean it's very tough to get, and there's fewer rooms now. Like when we were doing, we had an option of 4 or 5 rooms every night. Hey, let's go here, let's go there. Now it's like, well, let's go to the Liquid Zoo on Sunday. Like, no, I'm serious. Like there's no like. There's not 4 or 5 rooms. There's like the 3 clubs. There's Supernova, which is an outdoor show,
right?
And that's pretty much a credits based.
Right.
They're booking Instagram models who've never done comedy before.
Yeah.
But I guess
that's what Caroline's is doing. Caroline's is booking TikTokers and having us open for the TikTokers.
And like, do the comics? I know comics. Do the comics after their sets stay in the back to watch the TikTok comic bomb?
Yeah. You have to. You have. Yeah. Oh, well, it out here they bomb or they don't draw. Like there's an old school comic. I don't know if you know him. His name is Jim Madrinos. He's been around about 43. He came up under Kinnison. He started stand-up when he was 15. Like Sam used to crash on his couch when him and his mom lived on the Upper East Side. And they played Dangerfield. Sam took him under his wing. He was kind of like his drug go boy, like his tell him, go fetch my drugs for me kind of thing. And then Sam would take him on the road with him because he liked the kid. And a great storyteller. Jim Madrinos is one of those underrated. He wrote MTV Spring Break every year for 100 years.
Okay.
He wrote all that shit. That he was a big writer on TV shows. So he wasn't like a household name comedy wise, like stand up, but he was a big writer on all the shows back in the 80s. So, and for other comics, like headliners would hire him to write for him. Right. So Madrinos gets a call from Louis Ferranda from Caroline's. And there was this girl on TikTok who had like 2 million followers that he had booked to headline one night, do a one night. And Madrinos was to open, like feature. And Madrinos is like, really, Louis? Really? Really? All right. He's like, no, she's got 2 million followers. It's going to be great. It's it's going to sell out. He goes, okay. He gets there. He goes, Christy, there was 6 people in the audience. He goes, and he went up, did his thing, crushed. The girl couldn't follow him because she didn't have any content because, she's a TikToker, and he tells Lewis the next day, he goes, you could have made me headline, paid less money than you paid her. I could have got 12 people in that audience. Like, what are you doing? And it's like these TikTokers, it doesn't work in the city because everybody that follows people on TikTok that would go see a fucking TikToker like they're a celebrity lives out in bumfuck nowhere. So a friend of mine who saw me on a couple shows on In Hot Water with Aaron Berg and Gino Bisconti. Do you know them?
Gino, Mr. COVID isn't real.
Yes, yeah, crazy Gino. But before COVID, before he went conspiracy nuts, yeah. So yeah, because it almost killed me January 2021. I had COVID really bad. I'm like, okay, Gino, it's fake. Okay. I did hit their show a couple times before, like in 2019. And there's this guy that's like one of their super fans, follows me, and I got talking to him. We become friends. Jeff, he's a cop in Minneapolis, and he's hysterical. He's a good dude. And he said he went to a comedy show in Minnesota that, there was like some TikToker or YouTube or like one of those, influencers that does stupid videos. But a comic he really liked was featuring for the TikToker. So he went to the show and he said it was sold out and it was packed out. And he said all the YouTuber did was play their YouTube videos on a screen for the audience. That was his show. The stuff that he had already gone viral with, he was just playing over. Hey, remember this video? Hey, remember this video? Ah! I'm like, they paid how much to go to a comedy club to watch videos they've seen 100 times on YouTube at home for free? All right.
Well, I mean, I think that's the problem with like some of these, not all, but a lot of the social media stars is anyone can be at home in their underwear and click a video, but to get them to go out, pay $20 to park, $20 to get in, you got a date, that's $40. Like you got to be a draw, like a comedy draw. But for some, we know Josh Nasser. That's
Yes.
a dude who couldn't get clubs to email him back for a feature spot.
Yep.
But the difference with Josh is he's an actual comic, so he's got the chops.
He's been doing comedy and warm up for how many? 20 years? 25 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different with him because he's got the actual chops of stage time.
Right.
So, not all social media people are horrible comics, but most are, because I don't think they put the work into the comedy like they do the videos.
Right. Well, like comics that go viral like that, like Ryan Long, Rich Aronovich, that have taken stupid videos that they've done and sketches and gone viral with them, but they were comics already and already had hours of material and the grind underneath them. So for them to go viral and then hit the road, they're going to crush. Like that's amazing. That's what should happen. But a lot of these people do stupid videos, they go viral, but they have no content. They've never dthey don't know what it's like to go on the road. They've never written a fucking joke. They don't grind. They don't know what it's like. So they go to these clubs and they think this is so easy. And they find out the hard way it's not. And it's like I don't know how you feel about, the whole thing with T.I. doing stand-up and the whole Godfrey thing. I don't know if you heard about that. No,
please do spill the tea, girl.
Okay, well, honey, T.I., rap legend T.I., the mogul of Atlanta, is deciding he's going to do stand-up now.
Oh.
So Godfrey is headlining in Atlanta at the Atlanta Comedy Theater or whatever. And T.I. is friends with the people that own the complex that the comedy club is in. So they invite him down to the comedy club to get him on stage. Well, Godfrey's headlining. This is Godfrey's show. So Godfrey's going to do an hour. So T.I. decides he's going to go on after Godfrey.
Okay.
And do his set for an hour at Godfrey's show. So Godfrey felt some type of way about it, which I totally understand. And now T.I. is saying that Godfrey's hating on him because, you're hating on me because I want to do stand up and you're just jealous. Well, no, it was kind of disrespectful how you did it. You didn't go to Godfrey, hey, can I get a guest spot? I'm starting stand up. I want to try it out. Godfrey would have told the dude, come on out, come do a spot. But the fact that he did it behind him, and it's a whole shit show. You got to look it up online. It's hysterical. But
Godfrey's very, I want to say he's Mooney-like from the standpoint of he doesn't take any bullshit.
no, and he's smart. When it comes to this shit, he is smart. And he's great at what he does. And he's very sweet. And the fact that, it'd be like if Godfrey went to a T.I. show, right? He's put on a concert and Godfrey talks to the people that own the complex where the forum is or whatever, and goes, yeah, I'm going to go rap after T.I. Let me go on after T.I. and do an hour. I'm going to do my fucking hour. Like who does that? But whatever. Not my circus, not my clowns. But,
I mean, that's how I feel with actors, Jeremy Piven and
yeah.
John Mayer. I'll give John Mayer this. He seems relatively aware of, okay, this isn't my world. I'll at least be respectful.
If you're respectful, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Respect the craft. It'd be like if I went to a John Mayer show and said, oh, move over, I'm going to play piano. And I don't do it that well, but I think I do. And fuck you. No, I can't.
Well,
I have no respect.
He went on after me once, and I stayed to watch. I got to see how John Mayer is a comedy, because he strikes me as the type of guy that's good at everything.
Right.
He wasn't very good, and he asked me after. I don't know why he wanted my approval, but he's like, "Hey Earl, what'd you think of my act?" And I was like, "Hey, how would you feel if I interrupted your concert and played guitar like shit?" And he just looked. He got it. He laughed.
Well, because you were honest with him. You weren't kissing his ass going, oh, wow, you're so funny, John. You should totally do stand-up because I'm going to kiss your ass because you're a celebrity. No, you're like, dude, you suck. Sorry.
More or less. I mean, now, if it was CeCe DeVille from Poison, I'd been like, dude, you crushed it, bro.
But CeCe probably has really great stories, though. I'm sorry.
Oh, I met him once at Mel's Diner, and I was totally starstruck because it's him because he's just.
Yeah, he's so distinct. I met him at the Comedy Store once.
Oh, he's a big Comedy Store guy.
Yeah, no. I remember the first time I met him, he's like, "Yo," and he was so nice and so funny, and I'm like, "Dude, it's CeCe DeVille. This is hysterical."
Yeah, I mean, he's LA iconic.
Yeah.
So.
Totally.
Yeah, but that's like my beef with outsiders coming into our business. Just be respectful, and you won't take so much shit.
Yeah, we'll actually support you and welcome you in if you just do it respectfully. Don't just shit on people and bump them and do stupid shit and try to be like, oh, I'm better, I'm so and so I could do whatever the fuck I want. Go fuck yourself. I don't have time for it. Can I open for you?
Steve O, I was hosting potluck one night, and Steve O, he asked if he could go on, and I said, I'll put you on right now, because he was so nice about it. And he just told a story or two, and then he's like, hey, did I run the light? And he was very aware of the protocol of how it works, and he was pretty funny. He just told stories. He didn't do any jokes. So
well, that's his shtick.
I mean, when you taser your balls, that's pretty funny.
It's my closer.
I mean, I'm getting to the point now where I go, yeah, that'd be a good closer. Roddy Piper was the same. He would come up to the Comedy Store, and of course, every male, usually male, would be. It was like watching Superman pull in the driveway. Oh my god, he was in the first WrestleMania, and he wanted to do comedy, and he would go on stage, and he didn't have the best jokes. Steve Simone was helping him with that, and after about 10 minutes, he'd kind of lose steam, and we would just yell out wacky questions, usually led by me, because no one had the balls to start the. Hey, how big was Kamala's dick, Roddy? And then he would go into a Kamala story, and then someone would, and then that was funny. And then, hey, was Jake the Snake really in love with the snake? And like just the dumbest questions you could think of. And we would guide him to a good story. So
That's amazing.
what's comedy like in New York post-pandemic? Like, is it getting, because the mask rules out here are all over the place.
The Who's?
The mask rules, like,
Oh,
like,
okay.
are people like, you could slowly tell at the Comedy Store people are coming back, but I know New York has a different set of guidelines.
Yes, because we are like, I think right now at 90%, 93% at least first vaxxed, if not fully vaxxed, because we were the epicenter. So we got hit hard first, and everybody else, it kind of just filtered in as it spread. So when it hit us, we had no idea. So it kind of scared us, and so we were very for the masking and for the protocols and stuff. And when we opened in April, it was really weird because, you weren't the comics, because of the limited capacity, we tried to get as many audience in as we could. So the comics weren't allowed to go inside the club until they were going on stage. So being New York City, we'd have to stand outside in the cold and wait to be called. Like, all right, you're next, your spot's next. Okay. So then they would let you in, and then you could go up, and you had to wear your mask till you got to the stage and all that shit. But now it's like, it's just like, we just dropped yesterday having to prove your vaccine status at the
Wow.
door. Like that was up until yesterday. We had to show vaccine status. But some private businesses want to keep doing it, and that's fine. They said, if you want to, that's your business, but you don't have to. The only people that really have to mask now is like in public areas like the subway, which I think it should be mandatory forever. People should wear fucking masks on the subway. It's filthy and disgusting, the animals that are down there. And it's just, I wear a mask on the train because I want to, because I'm like, I'm trying not to catch anything again. I had COVID bad a year and a half ago. I'd never want it again. But the clubs, the bars, even the stores now are lifting the mandate. Like they're not requiring it, but some places still do, which is fine. But we've dropped all that, and we haven't had masks on in clubs in months, like since September, I think it was.
How did you know you had COVID? Like, did you wake up one day and go, oh my God, I can't taste my food? Or did you have a headache?
I felt like a bus hit me, and I couldn't walk. I had no strength. I didn't lose taste and smell, which was weird. So I didn't know it was COVID at first. I just thought I was exhausted. So I was training really hard. I was doing show after show, and I wasn't sleeping, and I was just grinding, just trying to recoup my money. And then I'm like, I can't even open the door. Like I couldn't lift anything up, like walking, my legs would give out and I'd almost fall. The doc said that I didn't lose taste and smell. He goes, probably because you have a lot of zinc in your body. So when you have a respiratory infection like that, it attacks the zinc to heal. So I go, well, yeah, I probably do, but I never lost taste and smell, but I couldn't walk. The fever was bad. There was one point I was paralyzed for a couple of days, and I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't move my legs. The pain in the body was brutal. The breathing, like, was so hard to breathe, and I'd get winded just trying to walk to the bathroom, and I would just be like, I gotta stop. Like I was just, it was bad, but I had long COVID. I'm actually finally, I'd say about a month ago, I'm finally feel like I'm over all the symptoms, and I got it January of 2021.
And that's scary because for those of you who don't know Christy, by the way, where can people follow you, Christy? Is it at Christy Miller Comedy or?
Yeah, it's at Christy Miller Comedy on Instagram and TikTok. And I tried to change my old Twitter handle because I've had it since I played roller derby, because we were supposed to get Twitter handles back then in 2008. So I got at Bitchy Slambora, and I wanted to change it, but my actual name is way too long. So I just left it at Bitchy Slambora, but I'm not a big Twitter person. It's too angry.
But
So.
When you say you felt bad and sick, people who don't know you, like, you are the most incredibly in shape and powerful woman I think I know, outside of maybe a pro wrestler girl I know. Of course, one of Eleanor's friends who almost broke my legs one night. Uh, she was drunk. This is why I
Oh,
love the
well,
comedy.
I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I don't party. My drug of choice is the iron, but I don't, that's it.
And so when you're sick, when you say you feel weak, that's how powerful COVID is. Gino, you bandit, you're an idiot. I love Gino, and I love Aaron Berg too.
Oh, they're great guys. Those are my dudes. Those are my dudes. They make me laugh, but I do have to clown Gino for being a tinfoil. I can't.
know.
It's
Well, I
just
just
sad.
love Aaron because he seems to be the go-to host for roast in New York, and
Yeah, he's great at
whenever
that. That's his strength.
whenever I'm feeling down, I put on the Kevin Brennan roast, and
Oh, that's such a great roast. Oh, that roast was so good.
there were so many. You were either really good or it was a complete train wreck the day.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And every time I watch the clip, I don't know, I got to be careful how I say this. He's the big guy. He might be special needs. Mike Burchetti.
Oh, that's Mike Bichetti. Everybody's below. I had to roast battle him at New York Comedy Club.
But no, I mean,
I annihilated him. I didn't care how retarded he is. I don't care. I love him. He's a New York icon. Yeah, he's an icon here.
But he's not special needs, is he? Like,
yeah, he's on the spectrum. Yeah.
Oh, like, is he autistic or he's? Oh, okay. Well, that's not.
Yeah.
To me, that's not special needs. That's just he doesn't.
Oh, but if you knew Mike, yeah, it's special needs.
But when he starts bombing,
oh, it's the greatest thing in the world.
It's so funny to me. Like,
oh, it's why we love him. It's why.
The look of terror on his face when I think he did a joke about Kevin's wife, and
yeah.
No, he did a joke about the two girls on the dais about, hey, if they get drunk enough, maybe they'll fuck me. And it was just like,
and he's like, thank you. Like he's totally hyperventilating.
Thank you. I think Aaron called out Chad Zumach's name, who I've watched Chad's set. I don't think he bombed because he was, he had an interesting set, but I don't think it was as bad as people made it out to be. But when Burchetti starts bombing, Aaron's like, hold on, Chad.
Well, Chad set, it was a bomb, but I think Burchetti is a fun bomb. Like Burchetti bombing is endearing. And it's just, it makes you love him more. Chad bombing at Brennan's roast was like very uncomfortable. But Burchetti bombing is it's just adorable.
But some of Chad's jokes I thought were really funny. Like he did the joke about, Gary Goulman wanted to be here, but he couldn't. He's across the street. Another male comic couldn't make it. Leslie Jones couldn't make it because he's across the street with Gary. Like it was just, it got, I don't know. Some of the jokes were good. I'm trying to stick up for Chad because he's one of my buddies. But I think the botched musical cue in the beginning threw him off. And
right.
But I love Kevin Brennan, although we haven't talked in a bit. I think he got kicked off of Twitter or something.
Yeah, he did.
Why did he get kicked off of Twitter?
I was trying to find out and read about it, and he just said something really fucked up, and somebody reported him, and then he got banned, probably because he's been banned before, and now he's just been kicked off.
Do you guys get along? You guys seem like you would get along.
I've never hung out with Kevin Brennan, so I don't know. We know of each other. We just never been in the same room together for periods of time.
And
so there's so many cliques, which in New York, there's so many comedy cliques, and then in those comedy cliques, there's comedy cliques. So there's thousands of comics that I'm still meeting for the first time in 20 years. That I'm like, how did we never meet? How have we never worked together? But it's just different circles you work in. Like during lockdown, I found a whole new tribe of comics to roll with because of lockdown. And these Zoom shows that we were doing that, like Broadway Comedy Club went on Zoom 4 nights a week. So I would close a lot of those shows. And then I got to know comics that I knew of, but that I never worked with because they're on different circuits, like Richie Byrne and Mark Riccadonna, John Poveromo, Rob Bartlett, like some old school dudes that are hilarious, that are now part of my tribe that I never before lockdown would have never been in the same room with because we work different circuits.
Yeah, I mean,
It's crazy how,
you know, like in LA, there's a lot of cliques, and
yeah,
there's comics who are afraid to come up to the Comedy Store because they're not
good. Let them. Good. They should be. Fuck you. That's the Mecca. That is the homeland.
It really is. So now recently you had a personal situation where you lost your mom. How are you doing in that regard?
A week ago.
I could just tell by the pictures of your mom. That's Christy's mom. Like,
oh yeah, that I'm her daughter, big time. She was one hell. She died a week ago today, and it's hard, and it's a weird roller coaster because I finally got to feel her Saturday night when I got home, or Sunday night I got home from the comedy club.
right.
Took a shower, and then there was weird signs all day, like messages, like people messaging me. I feel compelled to message you, your mom, who don't know me, and said, your mom will give you a sign. She will reach out. Like you will hear from her, or you will feel her. And I'm like, who's sick? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to feel her. And then that night something happened when I got home when I got out of the shower, when I went to my room to like go chill out, and there was a big sign, and I sobbed for like an hour. And then I called my best friend, Gina Savage, who was one of the managers at the Comedy Cellar. And I bawled for like an hour, and she's like, just get it out. And I just felt, it was kind of a relief that I felt her. And I feel Mooney a lot. When Mooney died, I felt him a lot. And I felt him before, and then I felt him after. So I always get signs from Paul. So I'm hoping mom does that too.
Well, I only bring it up just because, comics are so fucked up. Like, when I lost my parents 2 months apart, probably a month later, I'm like, okay, what was funny about that? Like, how can I turn this into not a bit per se, but, and there were some funny things that happened, like at the funeral home, and, guys selling me a casket for my mom like it was a car. And like,
yeah.
Like,
but that's part of therapy. That's what comedy is. So
yes.
Yeah, you should. So like, I've already been thinking about it, like Teddy Smith, he's a big comic here. Do you know Teddy Smith?
I don't, but he probably doesn't know me either.
Right. He's like if Richard Pryor and Bernie Mac had morphed into one comic.
Right.
Like, he's brilliant. So we're writing partners. He's like my brother. He's my brother from another mother. He's like, we write every day and talk about deep shit. And I was talking to him about my mom, about, I asked my brother, I said, well, if she's, because she went so fast, we didn't expect her to go in 24 hours. We thought we had another week or two. So when she went, my brother was going to FaceTime me for when the last rites were being read, but she didn't even make it to last rites. She was out. Like, it was like last call. She was out.
Right.
She left. So I was on speakerphone going, what's going on, Steve? And he goes, oh, mom died 15 minutes ago. So we did the service anyway, around her. And at the end, we told funny stories.
Christy, you there?
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, you're back. You're back. You just froze for a second. I thought that was your mom giving us a signal to end this podcast.
She probably was, because we're talking about her. My internet literally just went dead on my little bars.
That's your mom. That's the signal.
Yep, that's a thanks, mom. See, that's what she would do. She'd be like, fuck you. You ain't talking about me.
Well, I guess it's time to end the podcast.
I guess so.
We've had a not an intervention, but we've had a premonition from Christy's mom to, stop talking. So
This is the Ouija board edition
Yeah.
of Inappropriate Earl,
yes, we'll be
transcribed by a Ouija board.
talking to Paul Mooney tomorrow. I'm gonna go to
Oh.
Roscoe's on Crenshaw and we'll get a Ouija board. But I love you, Christy.
I love you more, and I miss you.
I miss you a lot, and I hope it was all right that I brought up your mom, but I just
Absolutely. She was amazing. She would have loved you.
oh,
She would have absolutely loved you.
but it's weird, like when you posted pictures of her, and I think the one it's either she's in a military or a nurse outfit.
Oh, it's Air Force.
I'm blind as a bat, you know that.
That's okay.
But it was like literally, you could have shown me 1,000 pictures of 1,000 women, and I would have been like, this one in the Air Force outfit, that's Christy's mom. Like,
Yeah, we
I don't
look
know why.
identical. Well, we look identical. But then when you see pictures of my father, and him and I looked identical. Because I'm kind of like a chameleon, I can morph into whatever. But my mom and I are twins, like beyond twins. It's uncanny how much we look alike.
Well, she raised a great daughter.
Aw.
You're very well missed in LA. And
Well, I miss LA very much. I miss the store. I miss you. I miss being there. I miss the family. I miss all of it. And I got an invitation for the 50th anniversary, and I
Are
was
you
so
coming?
upset. I can't. I'll be in Florida with Dice
okay.
in West Palm. So I wrote Peter back and said, I'm on the road, but I want to see pictures. And he's like, oh, absolutely. And so, but it's like the one time I'm working with Dice in April, it's the 50th. Otherwise I would have came home. I would have totally come home.
Well, maybe we can Skype you, me, and Tommy. We'll all get Christy, you gotta do something about the background on your Zoom. It's all black. What do you think I'm thinking right now?
I don't like black.
Well, that's Tommy Morris, the old talent coordinator, who
Yeah.
let's just say, I don't want to get sued. Let's just say Tommy has some interesting views on certain elements of society.
Yeah, he wishes it was 1864.
Yeah, and haircut will prove that. Well,
Yes.
I mean, like Tom Petty, there's not a black guy near the band for miles. This has been Christy Miller, guys. Follow her. If you're in New York, see her. There's no one better. And you will not look at the lineup and go, which one is Christy? She'll be the one in the skin tight leather pants.
I haven't worn those in so long.
Cut off.
I've been so lazy. I've been wearing just workout clothes because I'm just like so lazy now. And I'm just like, I don't even care anymore. The face is beat, but I'm just like, that's it. I'm comfortable because I roll around a lot.
Right. Well, I saw one picture of you. It was like, damn, she looks like she can go from the stage to the power rack, right?
Fuck yeah, I can.
I feel like that scene in Boogie Nights. I think it's a good way to end it because I can hear your mom like in this fucking podcast. How much can you bench?
My last max was 185
for Matt. But what do you
for a
like?
PR. What do I rep out? I could do 135 for 12 for 5 sets of 12.
Yeah, that's pretty. And where you squat?
My max at the point, I haven't maxed out since before the pandemic, mind you. So I don't know what it is. And I had to rebuild my strength. Before the pandemic, it was 275, but I do 225 for like sets of 5. And then my deadlift before the pandemic was 385, beltless, wrapless, perfect form, because I'm highly trained and because it's my nerd. And I rep out 315 for sets of 5. Like 5 sets.
Pretty impressive, man.
Yeah. Some guy came up to me in the gym a couple of weeks ago. He goes, "Oh, you're taking 315 out for a spin?" I said, "Yeah, just a little cardio." And he's like, "God damn it."
Well,
I go, "Oh, and I'm 51 years old. I hope you feel bad about yourself, sir."
You do not look 50. I mean, you don't even look 41. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And I'm not just saying that because you gave me a free membership to Goals in Hollywood. I mean, I live
you and Joe Diaz.
But I mean, I live in West Hollywood. I think, okay, this is kind of a gay neighborhood. And then I go to Goals in Hollywood, and that is it might be the gayest building I've ever set foot in. I mean, it was.
Well, when you come to New York, I will take you to the New York version of Goals, which is Temple.
Okay.
It is it is gayer than a picnic basket. It is so like it's like a big glory hole with weights. It's just amazing.
I'm good. I'll just go to Equinox, but I'll meet you after.
We have better equipment, and I don't mean the cocks either.
Hello.
Hey,
All right, now your mom's definitely
yes,
excited. So I love you, Christy.
I love you.
I'll see you soon, and
Yes,
say hello to Marino and all our New York comrades.
I definitely and tell all the LA comrades I love them.
I will, and tell Erica Ligney, keep it going. I'm proud of that guy.
All right, I definitely will.
All right, see you, Christy.
All right, babe. Love you. Bye.
Love you.